Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Geek-Minded Fools. My name's Graham.
And I'm Scott.
As usual, we will kick off with a visit to Scott in the monkey farm.
Hey partners, it's time to see what Scott's doing down on his monkey farm.
Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to the monkey farm.
Oh, we're time specific now. Good afternoon. Good evening.
Well, you wouldn't know. I've got the star cloth across the windows, so
Okay.
it might always be perpetual night in here. You don't know. It's because I blindfold you on the way in.
Does it say, I assure you we're open?
Of course, in shoe polish.
Yep.
What have I got for you this week in my monkey farm? I've got a little bit of, and you're going to cringe when I say this, I've got some Ghostbusters news. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. And I've got some Justice League news, and I've got a bit of Frank Miller news. I've got, what do you want? You know, I've got a little bit of everything in here this week. A little bit of everything.
I just want to be slapped in the face by your news.
Oh, I'm gonna hit you with my news stick.
I nearly said by your news dragon then, but I don't even know what that means.
I like news dragon.
Yeah.
Mark, if you're listening, can you draw us a news dragon? I require a news dragon. I shall send you the brief. Right, let's just jump in.
Yeah, let's do it.
Fuck it, let's just go straight in. I've got a couple of little tiny bits that I'm going to just
I've heard
open
that.
up with. A couple of tiny bits I'm going to open up with. Hello. Mark Ruffalo has confirmed, or has been confirmed rather, that his Hulk will be making an appearance in
Thor Ragnarok. Yes.
What is Ragnarok? Is this a place? Is that what Ragnarok is? Because I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
Do you know what? I do know the name Ragnarok from the comics. Couldn't tell you what it is though.
Well, there you go. But Hulk, he'd be back. He'd be coming back after he went off. You know, after learning how to be a pilot,
That's
as some
right.
people think.
After his flying lessons.
Yeah, tits. You know who we're talking to.
Yeah, you.
Yeah, you. Another little tiny thing that I do want to mention is that the other day, and this has probably been knocking about for a few weeks, so I apologise to people who already know this, but the trailer for the Sherlock Christmas special went up.
Yes.
Which is all set in Victorian England.
It's all set in like the past.
It's
and
all
that,
set
isn't
in the
it, Governor?
past. When they didn't have batteries, they had candles.
Yeah.
Mugs.
Didn't have no electricity. All the lights they was gas.
Didn't have nothing, they didn't.
What's all that about?
Now, I didn't know whether this was just like a flashback thing, but it appears that the whole episode is filmed...
It's actually set
in Victorian England.
Yep.
I really like that idea, because I think they've done such a stand-up job as Holmes and Watson. Why not give them a crack at a story that's set in the actual time period when the stories were originally set?
Yep.
So I like that. That's
I'm glad you like that.
That's not so much news. That was more a bit of gushing. That was a bit of
okay.
me being Benedict Cumberbatch fan.
Nice.
What else have I got for you? Ghostbusters news. Yeah. Do you know what though? I might have led you a little bit astray.
Oh, okay.
Because I think you'll like this.
Oh,
You know that Rick
they're not
Moranis?
making it anymore.
No, they are still making it.
Oh,
Rick Moranis, who brilliantly played Lewis Tully, was
Yes.
it, in the film, in
Yes.
the original film, the little geek who became. Now, was he the gatekeeper or the keymaster?
which do you think he was?
I think he
Think
was
about it.
Vince Clortho, and he was the gatekeeper. No, he was the keymaster.
Indeed.
Yes. God, I'm surprised I remembered his name. My stars and garters. I'm surprised I
And
remembered his name.
So the gatekeeper was
It was Sigourney Weaver.
indeed.
And what was her name? Was she given a name?
I can't remember, but
But he was Vince Clortho, wasn't he?
you obviously understand the relevance between
Oh, I do.
his
it's
key in her gate.
It's a penis and a vajayjay, isn't
That's
it?
exactly what it is.
I get you, right. Well, Rick Moranis is going to get massive kudos points.
Because they had Dirty Rumpy on the roof, didn't
They
they?
did,
Because
they
his
did.
trousers was undone.
And then they turned into, like, dogs.
And then they turned into like burnt, crispy dog
It
statues.
smells like barbecued dog hair up here. Oh, Vegman, I'm sorry.
Vegman, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, well, Rick Moranis is going to get massive kudos points from you, I think, because he's just stated very recently that he will not be part of the Ghostbusters
Rick,
remake.
I love you. Well done.
He is now become your favourite Canadian, I would imagine. Your favourite Canuck. A lot of people think Rick Moranis retired.
Well,
Which he did semi-retire, did he not?
His wife passed away, didn't she, from cancer?
That's correct,
so
yeah.
he left the movie industry to bring up his kids.
Yeah. Which, you know, is a lovely thing to
Absolutely.
do. As a father, you know, the right thing to do. And that's
Yes,
a really,
indeed.
really beautiful thing. It's a shame that we lost such a comedic talent because of that. Because
Yep.
I do love Rick Moranis. I think
It's very good.
You know, he is in one of my favourite movies of all time, Little Shop of Horrors. And he's just jaw-dropping in it.
Yeah.
He's a brilliant comedic talent, but he has said that he has no wish to be part of the...
I thought you were going to say Honey, I Shrunk the Kids from haven't there?
I love all those movies as well. I mean, Honey, I Blew Up the Kids is just quite clearly...
Kid.
Oh, it is, yeah, sorry. That was just wishful thinking on my part, wasn't it? Yeah, he stated he doesn't want to be any part of the remake, but I'm sure he does wish them well.
At last, a member of the original Ghostbusters cast with integrity.
Yeah,
Who would
right.
have thought it?
Well done, Rick Moranis.
Hang on, that whirring seems to have slowed down a little bit.
What's Harold in the Grave?
Old spinning in his grave.
Not a bad name for a band, that, Harold in his grave. The writer of Luther, the fabulous TV show with Idris Elba.
Idris Elba, yes.
Whose name escapes me. Who's the guy who wrote it? He's I can't remember his name.
Neil Cross or something.
Something of that.
Yes.
Yeah, memorable name, obviously, because I've completely forgotten
yes.
it. But it's just come out that he's going to be writing the screenplay for the remake of Escape from New York.
Apparently. Do we need a remake?
No, we don't.
Again, reboots. I hate them. Totally unnecessary. We have a really great Escape from New York film already in the can.
Yeah.
Starring a great actor.
Yeah.
Directed by a great director.
Yeah.
Why do it again? You're just cashing in. Reboots, I don't like them. Unnecessary.
Do you remember, cast your mind back, sir, to happier times, when we were at the...
Before we met.
Before we met, yeah. 22 years ago, 21 years ago, that would have been before we met, I suppose.
Yeah.
No, when we were at the Comic Con, the LSCC, the London Super Comic Con, what was the film we watched that we've spoken about a few times? Do you remember?
Lockout?
Lockout, directed by...
Oh, God.
Go on, you can do it.
Who directed Lockout?
Well, I can tell you,
I can't remember.
The person who directed Lockout has just lost a court case.
Oh, right.
To John Carpenter.
Right.
Because John Carpenter sued said director because he said that he'd ripped off the story of Escape from New York.
Oh, okay.
And he won. That director, sir, or rather the writer of Lockout,
yes,
was Luc Besson.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, they've just done a bit of a set to in the courts.
Oh,
no! And John Carpenter came
Johnny
out.
Boy won.
John Carpenter came out victorious. Do you know what? I must admit, when I was watching Lockout, that's all I could think of was, this is fucking Escape from New York. And it is really, isn't it?
Escape from New York, but Escape from a Space Station.
Yeah.
And therefore, it's almost Escape from New York meets Outland.
I'll go with that. Sorry, that was a bit of a delayed answer there, because I was...
you were swigging.
I was swigging some cherry Coca-Cola, because that's all I have to... that's all I sell in
cherry Coca-Cola,
in the
cherry
Monkey Farm.
Coke, cherry Coke.
If you don't drink cherry Coke, you ain't nothing to me.
Yeah.
Finally, Frank Miller has revealed that there is going to be a new Sin City story.
Brilliant.
So this is, what, we're looking 10, 12 years since the last one?
At least 10 years since the last one, yes.
Okay, so...
It's been a long time coming.
Before we discuss that, just briefly, have you seen the second Sin City movie?
I haven't yet, no. I kind of enjoyed the first one, but I'm such a fan of the comics. Of course, the first Sin City film was kind of a mixture of 3 or 4 of the titles.
Yeah.
Which I kind of didn't like. To me, the titles are so cinematic and such beautiful stories. Just tell those stories. You don't need to...
You'd have liked one contained story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, tell the hard goodbye. Tell that yellow bastard. So many great stories that they could have chosen from, and yet they took basically 3 stories. I mean, the Marv story with Mickey Rourke is the hard goodbye.
Yeah.
The Clive Owen story is... God, I can't remember what it's called. And the Bruce Willis story is that yellow bastard.
Yeah.
And there's also sort of another bit thrown in for good measure. The second one was... Is it The Babe Wore Red?
I think there's something of that. Something like that. It's words along those lines, isn't it? Definitely.
And so, yeah, I just felt it was all a bit...
See, I loved the first movie. I really did.
I
really enjoyed it.
It was good, but as a fan of the comics... Yeah. I mean, what I loved was they got the look of the comics absolutely perfect.
Indeed,
on there. The look was superb. I just didn't like the fact that I was watching 3 of the comics in one film.
Yeah.
Take one of the comics. One of the comics would have made a brilliant film.
No, I loved the first film, but fucking hated the second one.
Right, okay.
I think the reason the second one suffered so badly was because there was such a huge gap of time between the 2 films.
Right, okay.
What was pretty awe-inspiring and groundbreaking with the first one, by the time that the second one came around, we'd seen it kind of rehashed.
Felt a bit run-of-the-mill.
It felt a bit run-of-the-mill, exactly.
Right.
Do you think that 10 years between the books would that have the same effect? Do you think? Do you think because there's been such a huge patch of time between the books and now? Do you think?
I don't think it matters. I think that good storytelling is good storytelling, and the fact that time has passed, the man can still write and draw the shit out of a story.
Indeed.
The only thing that it will be judged on is whether it's a good story. It wouldn't matter the fact that it's using characters that we haven't seen for 10 years. I mean, for example, obviously Miller's latest project is The Dark Knight 3.
Yeah.
Which is obviously, the sequel to The Dark Knight Returns and The Dark Knight Strikes Back. And I mean, The Dark Knight Returns was 86, Dark Knight Strikes Back was early 2000s, and that got panned a bit, not because it was 16 years since the last one, but simply because it wasn't very good. Whereas people are very excited about this one, even though it's,
even though he couldn't be bothered to give it a title. Just The Dark Knight 3.
No, it's The Dark Knight 3, The Master Race.
Okay.
Is what it's called.
I'll stand down.
Nice.
Apologies. Attack dogs.
So yes, if it's a good story, people will like it. And I'll say there's so many Sin City fans out there. I loved it.
Definitely one to watch then.
I will be looking forward to it.
Do you know? I mean, because when I cobble together my news for this, sometimes it is quite hurriedly, I must admit, because obviously I have other things to do in the Monkey Farm. This place doesn't fucking run itself.
Stock taking.
Exactly.
Yes.
One. Yes. There you go. That's that done.
Yeah.
Do you know roughly when this is going to hit? When we're going to get this, or when it's?
He literally announced it at the New York Comic Con. So I mean, he's currently obviously focusing on Dark Knight 3, which means by the time that we're looking earliest summer next year. Okay. But could be a hell of a lot longer. We don't know.
Right. Well, thank you very much, sir. You've been an excellent help this week.
Well, I'm glad.
On the Monkey Farm. Do you know you're getting better at this? You are. You're so much more behaved than you were, when we first started.
Any chance for a weekend job?
I am thinking. I know I've said to you, in a previous visit to the Monkey Farm, that I am still considering your trial period here.
Okay.
And do you know what? Your chances are definitely getting stronger.
Well, that's great.
One day you might get your own apron.
I'm very pleased.
There you go.
Thank you, sir.
Get out.
Yeah, right, I'm off. And now we should move on to this week's Quick Hits.
Quick Hits.
And we should begin with you. What's yours this week?
My quick hit this week, sir, is something that I've just revisited very, very recently with my...
Brothel?
Yes. Well, if you'd have let me finish the sentence, that comment really wouldn't have sounded great. I've just revisited recently with my lovely girlfriend. No, it wasn't a brothel. It is the movie Paul. I'd forgotten how bloody good it was.
It's a great film.
I genuinely had. I remember going to see this at the cinema with my then girlfriend and two friends of mine, Pete and his now wife Lindsay, and I walked out of that cinema with just a smile that was absolutely hurting.
A mile wide.
A mile wide smile, indeed. It tells the story of. Well, let's start from the top. I mean, first off, it's Peg and Frost. So what could go wrong?
It is.
They're always great when they're together. Sometimes they cock up when they're alone, don't they? Let's be honest. Cuban Fury, not so good. And there's quite a raft of Peg films that have not been great. When they're together, though, they are absolute solid fried gold.
Yes.
Yay. See? That's how much we love each other. See, we finish each other's
sandwiches.
Yeah, that's right. No, you're just fucking greedy. So Peg and Frost play... the brilliantly named, it's Clive Gollings.
Yes,
and what's his name? It's Graham Willie, isn't it? Absolutely brilliant. William Gollings.
He's called Graham.
He is indeed. And I must admit, when I first saw this film, the opening scene of them off to the San Diego Comic Con, crossing the road, and you've got all the guys dressed in the Star Trek outfits around them looking at each other, just going, nerds. It's me and you, mate.
It is.
It is me and you. And I think that's another reason why I've got such a deep love for this film, because it's almost like watching you and I going off on an adventure. I don't know which one I would be. I'd like to think I wasn't the one who's got the surname Willie. I probably would be. I don't know. Would you? Let's put it this way: would you piss yourself and pass out if you saw an alien?
No.
I don't think I would. Well, then you are definitely Graham Willie, and I am the artist Clive Gollings. This basically tells the story of two uber geeks, if you like, who are off to San Diego Comic Con
with their book.
With their book, yes, which has brilliantly got some artwork on the front with a space chick with three tits, which is a kind of joke that goes throughout the film, and that joke is used really, really well. Once they finish the Comic-Con, they decide they're going to do a tour of UFO hotspots, don't they?
Yes, indeed.
Culminating with them visiting the Black Mailbox.
Yes.
And also visiting, Area 51 and places like that. Along the way, they meet some really amazingly played characters by Kirsten Wiig, who is just I think one of the most jaw-dropping performances in a comedy movie ever. She is so good in it. Last week's episode, we were talking about a poometer for being scared. For this, I would need a poometer for nearly shitting myself with laughter because she was so funny in it. She basically plays a character who doesn't believe in evolution. Yeah. And she's got a great t-shirt with a picture of Jesus shooting... it's Darwin, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's just brilliant.
She's like that because she's led a very sheltered life.
She has
because
indeed.
of her father.
Her father, who's a real Bible basher, isn't he? And
who's one of those actors who, if you saw him, you'd know his face. But I can't think of his name.
I can't think of his name off the top of my head either. But yeah, he is. That's a great performance from said actor as well. Along the way, also as well, Peg and Frost, or Gollings and Willie, happen across a bit of an illegal alien, I suppose we could call him, who is brilliantly voiced by Seth Rogen, who just happens to be what would be referred to in the alien world a grey, isn't he? Yeah. So he's your classic alien with the big eyes. I mean, a lot of you guys who are listening to this, I would expect you to have seen this. I really would. It's just a charming film.
You've got great support. You've got, obviously, Jeffrey Tambor plays the...
Amazing. Go on, give me his name.
The writer, I can't remember his name, but sort of the
Adam Starchild.
the writer that they absolutely adore, who they meet at the Comic-Con. You've got Jane Lynch, who plays the woman at the diner as well.
Who's amazing.
Absolutely superb.
People would know her from Glee, wouldn't they? If they've seen Glee.
You've obviously got Jason Bateman.
We cannot give away his name. But needless to say, he plays
Agent Zoyle.
He is Agent Zoyle. The cleverer listeners out there will already
have worked out what his first name is.
But for me, the two absolute gold dust performances come from Bill Hader and Joe LaTrigiulio. Wow, they are the most inept FBI agents of all time. They are thick as shit and just twice as clueless. They're brilliant. They obviously are being kind of handled by Jason Bateman's Agent Zoyle character. One particular scene finds them playing hide and seek, and Bill Hader has brilliantly used the hiding place of a cactus, and it's just him coming out from behind the cactus in the shape of a cactus. Gets me every time. They are absolutely brilliant.
You've got Blythe Danner
as well, yes.
And then another cameo that we shouldn't really spoil, because
even though it's on the back of the box for the DVD,
is it? Okay.
It is, yeah. And again, the clever of you amongst us who will have seen the film will know who the cameo is straight from the offset.
Yes.
You know, you'll recognise the voice.
Indeed.
But yeah, big props to Seth Rogen for voicing Paul. He does it so brilliantly, so charmingly, for a character that essentially we are supposed to be pretty petrified of as the human race. You know, we're supposed to be scared of aliens. But he's just such a lovable character.
A lovable slob almost, isn't he?
He is. He's a stoner. He's a slob. Yeah. There's some great physical comedy. The effects in it are absolutely blinding as well. They are brilliantly done. He's an amazingly realised character. Yeah. I think one of my favourite scenes in the whole film is the moment where they accidentally hit a bird. The bird flies into the windscreen of their Winnebago that they're driving, and Paul resurrects it. And much hilarity ensues. It's a great film.
It's a funny film, but it's a very touching film. Yeah. It has a big heart as well. There's some great moments in there. So.
And again, I'll finish by saying that's one of the other reasons why it does remind me a lot of You and I, because it is essentially a film about friendship.
Yes, absolutely.
There you go, sir.
Thank you. Right.
You're welcome.
My quick hit this week. I'm going on a real departure, and I'm not sure how you're going to think this is going to fit into our little podcast, because I've never done anything like this before. My quick hit this week is a Disney film.
Get the fuck out.
That's kind of what I thought you'd say.
Then again, you can't say that anymore though, can we? Because they fucking own Marvel.
This is true.
Go on.
It's the most recent Disney film, i.e. non-Pixar, just Disney release. Okay. And it's one that when it came out, it kind of didn't really do great guns over here and didn't seem to demand a great deal of attention. And it's only because having two young kids, as soon as a new Disney Blu-ray comes out, they spot it in the shops and say, "Oh, Daddy, can I have that?" And you get it. And I watched it and just realised what an absolutely fantastic film it is. And it is Big Hero 6.
Okay, I haven't seen it, and
well,
I'm dying to see it.
That doesn't surprise me, which is why I thought I would do it, because, like I say, it's one that's gone under the radar, but it's a really good superhero film.
Yeah.
Based on a Marvel comic. Didn't know if you knew that. Sunfire and the Big Hero 6, it was called. And the movie tells a story of a young kid, a 14-year-old, called Hiro Hamada, who begins taking part in illegal, it's almost like robot wars contests. The whole film is a bit futuristic.
Yeah, because it's set in... Is it New York or is it Tokyo?
No. What they've done is, because of the market, they've done a mash between
the two of
Japan
them.
and America.
That's right.
So it's set in a place called San Francisco.
Brilliant, that's it. Yeah.
San Francisco.
Yeah. That's brilliant. I like that.
And they do these illegal robot fights, sort of backstreet things that people bet on, and he effectively comes out with his really rubbish looking robot. This guy's got this massive great one, and it absolutely carves Hero's ones up, and then Hero says, "Oh, well, hang on, I've got some more money, can we have another go?" And this guy says, "Yeah, sure." And needless to say, Hero's divides into pieces and suddenly becomes shit hot and tears this guy ones apart, and this guy realises he's been hustled, and Hero has to run away and gets found by Tadashi, his elder brother, who picks him up on his bike, and the two of them end up getting arrested as they're running away on the bike, and they get bailed out by their aunt called Cass, and you realise that these two boys live with their aunt, their parents have died, and effectively Tadashi is the one who's kind of looking after Hero and trying to keep him on the straight and narrow. And Tadashi works at a robotics centre in a university and has developed a medical robot.
Yeah.
But it's a huge, great, white inflatable thing. So it blows up, and it's called Baymax.
That's it.
And he introduces Hero to Baymax and shows him what he can do. And Baymax can body scan you, and is effectively there for your health and well-being. And Tadashi takes Hero to the university, where Hero meets his colleagues, and they all have these various inventions that they're doing. And Tadashi introduces Hero to the head of the robotics department, which is Dr. Callahan. And Dr. Callahan says to Hero, "Look, if you're impressed with this place, if you can come up with something really good, then you can join in." And Hero comes up with a mini version of his robot, which he calls microbots, which are these tiny little black things that are mind activated. And they almost act like a swarm,
like nanoids,
and they can form into shapes and make various things.
Yeah.
And he introduces this to the guys at the university, and they're absolutely blown away and say, he can join if he wants to. But soon after that, there's a fire at the university, and Tadashi goes in to try and save Dr. Callahan. The place blows up, and Tadashi gets killed, and so Tadashi was Hero's hero, if you'll pardon the pun, and he's absolutely devastated. And Hero accidentally activates Baymax, and Baymax finds one of these little microbots, but it starts moving, and they're not sure why it's moving, and then they realise that it's been attracted to the other microbots that they previously thought had been destroyed in the explosion.
Okay.
And so it then leads to them finding out that there's this bad guy in a mask who is controlling all these microbots, and they don't know why they're there. And the other guys who were Hero's colleagues, they're trying to help Hero, and Hero says, "Right, we need to be a team if we're going to do that." So they use all the things they're inventing to give themselves superpowers.
Okay.
So they effectively become this superhero team called Big Hero 6.
So it's got all the elements of a great superhero origin story.
Absolutely.
But obviously, without the absolute abject horror that some of the more adult superhero comic stories have. So it's very, very, very child friendly.
Yeah. I mean, but like most Disney films, it's kid friendly, but there's an awful lot there for adults, and this is what particularly drew me to it. I'm a superhero fan, and therefore immediately the superhero element. Yeah. But one thing I will say about it's very, very funny, There's some great humour in it all the way through. There's some characters that are absolutely hilarious.
From the little pieces I've seen of it, does appear to be a lot of really good physical comedy with Baymax himself.
Yes, but some great one-liners as well, all the way through. I mean, there's a character called Fred who is sort of the real comic relief and is absolutely hilarious. It's a very clever film. A lot of the stuff that goes on in it, they really, thought about it.
Yeah.
It's quite touching as well. The relationship between Baymax and the hero that develops is very touching and quite poignant. I mean, the ending is a real tearjerker of an ending. But as I say, as with most of these films, it's kiddie safe, but there's so much there for adults.
Yeah.
And I just think it's a great example of the superhero genre. But in its own right, it's just a really enjoyable film. It's very engaging. And very surprising because like I say, it kind of passed me by at the cinema. Never really saw or heard too much about it. I mean, apparently in Asia, it is one of the most popular because of this sort of Asian link to it.
I don't think it did hugely well over here.
No.
Stop it.
I don't think it did.
It just went under the radar a little bit, didn't it? But I think that's part and parcel of the fact that.
But sort of behind Frozen, I think in the Japanese market and what have you, it is the most profitable Disney film.
Definitely one I will give a watch. It's something that I've been meaning to get round to watching.
Yeah.
Because I love the look of Baymax as a character, and I love I remember when they released the kind of the little teaser trailer for it with him suiting Baymax up, and I just thought that's genius. I love it. It is to see physical comedy done well in a cartoon or in an animated movie as such. Is quite hard, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then they seem to have pulled it off really well. So it's definitely one I'll watch.
Yes.
Yeah, I shall look forward to that.
But yeah, forget the fact it's a Disney film. Just enjoy it for what it is, which is a very, very funny, entertaining, and quite poignant movie. So
it seems to me as well that might be one that I can watch with my other half because she might stay awake for that one.
Right.
So thus far, we've been together a while now, and we've only managed to sit through 2 films together. One of which was animated, and the other one was when we were at the cinema, so she couldn't fall asleep.
No,
Everything else we've watched, first 15 minutes, gone sleep. Loved Minions though. There you go. So I think Big Hero 6 is one that we'll definitely watch.
Excellent.
Cool.
Right, and now we shall move on to this week's main topic.
When they got the ball, they won't drop it. The Geek-Minded fools discuss the main topic.
Okay. For this week's main topic, we wanted to talk about a film which we're probably a little bit behind the curve on because we lost a couple of weeks to the Back to the Future commentary.
But as we always say, we're not about being hot off the press.
Absolutely, we aren't a topical show. We've never professed to be that. No. But it's a film that's sort of very much up our alley, sort of our genre. So we felt it needed to be addressed.
Yes,
and that is The Martian. The Matt Damon starrer, directed by that there Ridley Scott.
I've got to do it. Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
I couldn't help it. That's it. That's gone now.
Indeed.
All right. What did you think?
I really enjoyed it.
I did.
I have to say, I obviously knew from all the bump what was going to happen, but it did turn out to be a slightly different film in terms of content from what I was expecting. I was expecting more of a he's on Mars, how are we going to get him back, a bit of an Apollo 13 kind of thing. And there was an element of that, but it was kind of, it felt a bit like Gravity meets Scrap Heap Challenge meets Gardener's World.
Fair enough, actually, yeah. But as you were saying that, I'm thinking, what the fuck is he talking about? And then, I get you, yeah. It was not the film I expected.
No, not at all.
The opening bit of it, I was struggling to stay awake, if I'm honest with you.
Oh, okay.
I was bored to tears. And I thought, okay, this is all well and good with a little bit of jokey banter with the Michael Pena character and the rest of the crew, but
Michael Pena, who we just increasing to love more and more every fucking film he makes.
He's brilliant, and really, I suppose I should have realised that if he's anything to do with it, it's got to be brilliant. But I must admit, the opening 10 minutes didn't drag me in. I just thought this is going to be just a trudge. But it wasn't, was it? It was bloody good. I was very impressed.
Considering it's a 2-hour plus film.
It's no short movie.
At least 90 minutes of which is just Matt Damon. it was very entertaining. I mean, funny enough, I was completely the opposite to you, because obviously we knew what was going to happen. So those opening 10 minutes, I was just waiting for it to happen. And I was actually surprised at how quickly they sort of went from doing the research to the storm coming in to then trying to get back to the ship and Matt getting... so we keep saying Matt. We should refer to him by his... character's name.
Mark. It'd be brilliant if his character's name was Matt then, wouldn't it? But I think we've gone a bit ahead of ourselves, because we are talking about a movie that we've not actually told the people what it's about. Really,
this is true.
Basically, in a nutshell, it's about
a manned mission to Mars.
There you go.
To conduct research, and there was a crew of 6 people, led by Jessica Chastain.
Yep, she is the captain.
Indeed, and they are doing various studies on Mars when a storm rolls in. And suddenly they have to evacuate and get back to their ship very, very quickly. And as they're walking through this storm where there's very limited visibility... Which
is brilliantly done as well.
Indeed. Really? Mark, as played by Matt Damon, just gets wiped out by a bit of debris. It's a satellite dish, isn't it? Suddenly flies past and takes him out, and he goes flying off. They then get back to the ship, realise that they're going to have to go back out and rescue him, but then the readings indicate that his suit has been breached. His
suit's breached and he's toast, pretty much.
And therefore he'll be dead.
Yeah.
And so
she makes the call.
Yes, realising that he's dead, she says, look, we've lost him. They say, okay, get out of there. And so they take off. We then see Matt Damon lying in the sand, in the dirt of Mars. And yes, his suit was breached by a spike from the satellite dish, but it turns out that just going straight through him and the blood immediately sealed the breach, and therefore no oxygen was lost, and therefore he's still alive.
The blood and the red sand has created a seal.
And he's been left on Mars.
Which, quite frankly, is fucking ridiculous. But I bought it.
But then, it's no more ridiculous than us being on Mars in the first place.
Exactly.
So, of course, you've got his crew are now on the way home, now on the ship on the way home.
Bearing in mind as well that obviously the journey between our planet and Mars
is 4 years. Yes. He has no way of communicating, so his sole communication is him recording himself, sort of doing logs.
Which are brilliant, aren't they?
Absolutely, very
some of the finest moments in the film are literally him just talking to us, almost as the audience,
addressing us being the camera that he's talking to. Yeah. And then it's about him thinking, right, okay, they're also going to realise I'm alive and come back and rescue me, and so I've got to find a way to stay alive. So with the limited rations that he then has to work out how to keep himself alive for 4 years, and then it's the way that the people at NASA realise that he's still alive because they're taking photos of the site, and they realise that the buggy thing is moving or has moved because they're only taking photos, every 4 minutes or something. And then they realise he's alive. They then have to work out how to communicate with him. He has to work out how to make his food last longer, which is effectively growing potatoes on Mars.
Because he is a botanist, isn't
he? He is indeed, yes.
A damn good botanist, I believe he says.
And the great line, "Fuck you, Mars."
Fuck you, Mars, indeed. It also comes to light as well that a friend has told him that, if you are the first person to grow food somewhere, then you've effectively colonised that place. So he ends up colonising Mars, doesn't he? I think some of the best moments of the film are just him as a talking head, talking to us as the audience, or rather mission control when they finally see the logs. But what's most evident, I think, is the fact that the screenplay was written by Drew Goddard.
Yes.
And that's why it's so smart and funny and well written.
Yes.
He's done exactly what he did with Cabin in the Woods, but for a space movie.
Yeah.
It's a fucking great screenplay. I mean, obviously directed by Ridley Scott, who's no stranger to other worlds and space travel.
Space epics.
What a great combination, though. Ridley Scott directing, Drew Goddard writing the screenplay. I've never read the book. No, I'm not one for a book, really. I mean, I used to read a lot. Don't read so much anymore because I'm much more about the...
Break your glasses.
There is that, I'm much more about the visual medium, but... as I say, it's not a film that I ever expected that I'd enjoy as much as I did, and I'd quite happily revisit it. And this is one that I'd quite like to own as well, because I just think it's a bloody good film.
Yeah,
it's genuinely funny as well, isn't it?
Oh yes. I mean, Damon proves himself to be one of the most charismatic actors out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have to say that it was only after watching it I realised how few of our modern day actors would have been able to pull off that role.
No, you're right.
Matt Damon comes across as very much an everyman.
Yeah.
He's exceptionally likeable and easy to relate to.
Yeah.
Because of that, he's able to pull off these scenes where it's just him. And there's a great theme that goes through, which is the only thing he's been left to entertain himself is the mission commander's laptop with the music on it, and she's into basically disco music, and he's constantly sort of going out of his mind, not literally obviously with the fact that the disco music. And there's one bit where he's in the Ranger going along like the little buggy thing, when he just looks at the camera and says, "This is the least disco of all the music she has," and presses play, and it's Hot Stuff by Donna Summer.
Yeah.
This is the least disco song,
and that's actually at the point when he's decided to use some sort of nuclear whatever it is that to warm the that's right. He
actually digs up the fusion reactor or something that powered the ship to get in there, which they had to buried. They had to bury because it's so radioactive.
That's right, yeah.
Whereas he realises that he has to get to a certain site, and therefore he needs the battery life in the car to get him there.
Can't use the heater.
And therefore can't use the heater. So he digs up this radio thing and puts it behind him in his seat just to keep him warm.
Which is brilliant. It's a brilliantly... I mean, the entire
Which is
film
the whole scrap heap challenge element of it. The whole thing is him taking things that are designed for one purpose and using it for another in order to survive.
And that's I think that's the beauty of it. It is a brilliantly stupid film in the respect that all the choices he makes could kill him. But the fact of the matter is, if he doesn't make them,
he's dead anyway.
So he might as well give it a whirl. And I think that's what sums the movie up. Really, they went for it, and they did. They did it. They hit. It's a hit. It's a great movie. It's again another amazingly good cast.
I know. Funny enough, that's exactly what I was just going to say.
I mean,
across the board.
Earlier on, we were talking about Paul, which was my quick hit this week with Kristen Wiig. Now she's in this playing a relatively straight role.
Yeah, she's the PR person for NASA. Isn't
that's
she?
right. Yeah, and she is brilliant in it. She's not in it much, but she is really good in it.
But
I love her
it's
anyway.
a lot of that. Like I say, the film is 75% Matt Damon.
Yeah,
and the rest is just bit parts, cameos. Jeff Daniels as the head of NASA. You got Sean Bean.
Yeah.
In there as well. I really love Benedict Wong.
Yes,
as the sort of technical guy who they kept saying, right, okay,
Bruce
how long is this going to take you? And he'd say 4 weeks, and say, okay, you got 10 days, and it was him getting his team to try and start putting stuff together.
And again, as well, I mean, a little bit of redemption maybe for Kate Mara here
as
well.
Indeed.
After the absolute fuck up that Fan Forstick fucking nonsense was. Fantastic, rather. She is genuinely very good in it, and she is a good actress. She's she definitely proved how good she was in the American House of Cards remake. She's amazing in that. It's a real shame that she's in Fantastic Four. I hope that's not damaged her career too much.
I don't think so, because to follow it up with something like this, as I say, I think we were talking about it at the time. I don't think you can lay Fantastic Four at the actors' doorstep in terms of blame. No. The whole thing was just a fucked up storyline. It was a bad situation, and they made the best of a bad job. I don't think you can lay the blame with them.
Indeed.
And you had obviously Sebastian Stan,
Bucky Barnes.
Bucky Barnes was there.
Winter Soldier was there.
As, another one of the crew.
He was indeed. I believe he plays Kate Mara's husband, doesn't he?
Yes.
I think there's obviously something going on with them anyway.
Well, there's a bit where she, if you pardon the expression, kisses his helmet.
She does kiss his helmet, yeah.
Don't tell him I did that.
Exactly, which is what we say to each other all the time,
yes.
All the time. And of course, Chiwetel Ejiofor as he's kind of the glue that holds the whole Earth-based team together.
He's almost like the NASA technical expert, but also the one with the least experience of dealing with this kind of stuff. Because there's that great one where he gives the press conference and says, we're going to do our best to bring him home alive. And then Jeff Daniels says to Kristen Wiig, did he just say bring him home alive? And she went, yeah. And then she went, note to self, never let him in front of the cameras again.
Exactly, yeah. Without creating any spoilers as well, I think one of my favourite moments of the film, and it's not too much of a spoiler at all, it's such a tiny throwaway moment, and we don't ever actually get to see or hear it, but pretty positive that Mark Watney tells the president to go fuck himself, which I think is absolutely brilliant. Are we scoring this?
I think we have to. Are you ready for scoring? You there already?
I don't know. Have we got more to say?
Well, I
think we have. Yeah.
I just think his survival for as long as he did was based on his own ingenuity. Like, for example, the point where they were saying, okay, he keeps going somewhere in the rover.
That's right.
And then they said he's obviously going to this place because he knows that there's going to be supplies that we left there before. Yeah. But then they say, hang on, he's in the wrong direction. And again, old Chewie measures it out on a map and says,
"That's right.
I know where he's going." And he's going to the old Mars rover thing,
right.
you know. So therefore, they actually have a way of properly communicating with each other,
which is geniusally done as well.
Absolutely.
Isn't it? With the he sets up almost like a clock face with letters A to Z. And it's very, very clever.
Yes.
It's definitely something that was not rushed into when they'd researched it and when they thought about how he would possibly do this if he was trapped there. You know,
this is it for such a fantastical story. They dealt with it in a very realistic way.
Yeah.
You know, you can understand that were something incredibly far-fetched like this to happen, this is how they deal with it. And I think the template probably very much was Apollo 13 in terms of the fact that on Earth, Benedict Wong's team were actually saying, right, okay, if we drill holes in this and actually kick it down and therefore, you know, adapt the rover in order to do this, and therefore everything that they asked him to do, they were testing for themselves on Earth to make sure that it would work. And of course, in order to get off, they realised that he's going to have to go onto this sort of little rocket thing, but he's going to have to strip everything out of it.
That's right.
They're going to have to fly it remotely, so therefore he's going to have no seats, no controls, no windows. He's actually protected from the atmosphere by a tarpaulin.
By a parachute, in fact, isn't it? It's
right.
a parachute.
Yeah.
It's almost the equivalent of a cut and shut space shuttle, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's like,
Yes.
or a NASCAR space shuttle.
Yes.
It's like, what can we chuck out of this to make it lighter?
Yeah.
Oh, fucking everything.
Which is why I said it is kind of gravity meets scrap heap challenge, because it's just, you know, you need to do all of this. You know, in order to get this to blast off and get you high enough off Mars, we need it to weigh 5,000 kilograms less than it currently does.
And I think that's probably why, as ridiculous as all the situations that he gets put in throughout the film are, I think they all work because of how human all the characters are.
Yes.
And how believable
Absolutely.
they all are as those characters.
And like I say, and bear in mind, it's his film.
Yeah.
But every member of the supporting cast, for all their limited screen time, absolutely delivers across the board in a totally believable way. Little moments as well, like for example, he realises that he has a limited supply of potatoes, doesn't he?
That's right, yeah.
And so in order to do this, he needs to grow more.
Yeah.
So he starts cutting potatoes in half and he thinks, how am I going to make it grow more? So inside his little space station bit, he pulls earth in, and then he has to go to the toilet and pull out the little vacuum seal packs of poo.
Yeah.
And there's a bit where he's opening them up and putting them in a bucket.
Oh,
and as he's doing it, he's going on the side because it's a bucket of poo. But he literally creates manure in order to indoor. Because they say he's a botanist, he knows how to do this, and he literally creates shit for manure, earth outside but brought inside so it won't immediately freeze. And then puts potatoes in it and starts to grow, starts to actually cultivate, and saying, I'm actually growing food on Mars. This is ridiculous. I mean, to me, it is very much a triumphant film, you know, regardless of whether he survived to the very end or not. The whole thing is about a triumph of the human spirit and human endeavour and never giving up, never giving in, always believing, because they tried to send food to him, which would have taken 9 months, but they decided in order to get it quick enough they would forego the checks, and the rocket blew up when it was launched. And so, you know, they had these things go against them, but it just goes to show that for a ridiculous race of people on a planet who, for all our faults, when we need to, we can come through and, you know, we can deliver. And in a crazy way, a lot of people are saying that this film could actually re-stoke the interest in us venturing back into space.
In space travel in general.
Precisely. You know, I mean, people have been talking about manned mission to Mars, and you've heard stories of people being shut away for a year in order to get themselves acclimatised to being shut away in terms of the travel time. But just people watching a film like this and actually believing and hoping suddenly makes people go, do you know what, let's go out there and see what's out there again.
Yeah, it's definitely a good move on Ridley Scott's part to direct a film like this. I think after going off with things like Prometheus and such like, you know, this is a much more personal
Absolutely.
or personable story.
Normally he's things on an epic scale,
Yeah.
isn't he? You know, it's
And
all
albeit
Kingdom of
this
Heaven
is,
and
this is
and
quite epic.
Gladiator and
But,
that kind of
you
stuff.
know,
It's an epic story told on a personal level.
Matt Damon genuinely does need to stop getting lost places, though, doesn't he? I mean, fucking Saving Private Ryan, The Martian,
Interstellar.
fucking spoilers there for that one.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Oh,
Apologies.
That's alright, it's too late now. Now we need the refrigerator time machine again. As I say, I mean, I really, really did enjoy it. It's not a film I thought I was going to enjoy, but I did.
I thought I would enjoy it, but it turned out to be very different from what I expected, and I enjoyed it far more than I expected to.
So a wholehearted success, really.
Absolutely. Big old thumbs up.
A massive thumbs up. Now, hang on. Do we do thumbs up or do we do scores?
We do marks out of 10.
We do, as your beautiful daughter reminded you
Yes.
on the was it the Minions?
The Minions
It
film,
was,
yes.
which I still, for me, is probably one of the greatest podcast moments ever on any podcast ever. Your very young daughter reminding you how your own score.
Me being pwned by my daughter.
Pwned.
How many thumbs up do you give it? I think you'll find it's marks out of 10. Oh, okay.
Well, thank you very much, small child. Excellent.
So, what's your thoughts score-wise?
Do you know what? I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 because I can't really fault it. But as you well know, I can never bring myself to think of things 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10. But I do think 8 out of 10 would be a fair mark for this because it is a bloody enjoyable film and really, really well played by everyone involved.
Absolutely. I completely agree, and I know it. It never used to happen that often, but it seems to be occurring more and more. I completely agree with you. I would give that film a very well deserved 8 out of 10.
We're getting old. Aren't
We are, clearly.
Are we losing the fight in us? Do you think? I hope we're not. I don't think we are.
Probably.
I still got a bit left. A fair bit.
Okay. Right. Anything else you need to say, sir?
I think not.
You're done.
I'm done. I'm
Excellent.
spent.
Right. Well, that's it for another episode then.
Mm.
So, for myself, Graham,
And myself, Scott.
thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.